Section 1.4 was on solving absolute value equations. I'm not going to read the learning targets because you guys already had a pretty good discussion about them. But our central question is, how can you solve an absolute value equation? So before we really get into this, we're going to have to revisit the idea of positive, negative numbers, what the absolute value actually means. And in order to do that, I have a couple tasks here that I want you to take care of on your own. I want you to determine whether the situation involved negative numbers or not, and explain your reasoning behind that. All right? So the first situation is the number of points on one team scores in a basketball game. The second one is the amount of money in a bank account. And the third one is the amount of electricity used on this month's bill compared to last month's bill. So I want you to pause this video right now, really start thinking about positive, negative numbers, and we'll go from here. So I'm going to pause this. I want you to try to answer these three questions. All right. For number one, it says the number of points one team scores in a basketball game. I said no. That can clearly not go negative. You cannot score negative points for basketball. Cannot score negative. Even if you score on the wrong hoop, the other team actually gets the points, so you can't actually score against yourself, meaning losing points. Two, the amount of money in a bank account. This one's really, really subjective. It depends on what you're talking about. There's a huge difference if you have a savings or checking account versus a credit account. If I'm talking about a credit account, I can definitely go negative, because what a credit account or a credit card does is really you're borrowing money. Okay. If instead of talking about a credit bank account, a credit card, we're talking about a savings or a checking, now I can't go negative, because if you run out of money, you run out of money. If you run out, you run out. Okay. And third one, the amount of electricity used this month compared to last month. All right, well, this one is really, really tricky because, again, there's this key word, compared. So if I'm comparing this month to last month, really that's telling me if it's gone up, that I'm going to have a positive value. If it's gone down, I have had a negative value. So in this case, we actually have yes, because if I use less electricity next month, it goes down. I'm not going to write that all, but if electricity use goes down. Okay, now that we kind of got thinking about positive, negative numbers again, we're actually going to start talking about these absolute value things. These guys right here, these bars, hopefully remember them from a previous math class, but that actually represents the absolute value. And there's a lot of people that have a misconception about the absolute value. They think that the absolute value is just meaning I take the sign off that number. And that's not really a great understanding of what it is. The absolute value actually represents the distance a number is from 0. Okay? Distance a number is from 0. So I'll do number 1 with you here, and then I'm going to have you try the next 5 just to kind of get used to looking at absolute values of numbers. If I have the absolute value of negative 82 being compared to the absolute value of 57, I know that negative 82 is actually 82 places away from 0, and I know that 57 is actually 57 places away from 0, which means I know that negative 82 is actually further away from 0 than 57. That's really what this statement is saying. So I want you to do then is I want you to quick pause this, crank out 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we'll check here in a second. All right, here were my solutions. Number 2, I had the distance negative 67 is away from 0 is less than the distance negative 70 is away from 0. I'm not going to read the rest of them, but there are your solutions. And what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to break this video off because that was really our introduction to absolute values and remembering what they are. Next, we're going to get into absolute value equations.